The story of Prophet Musa, or Moses, is one of the most detailed and profound narratives in the Islamic tradition, offering timeless lessons on patience, knowledge, and the power of faith. Musa's life journey, marked by trials, miracles, and divine guidance, provides a rich tapestry of wisdom for those who seek to understand the deeper meanings of patience and the pursuit of knowledge. The story of Prophet Musa, or Moses, begins in a time of great turmoil for the Israelites, who were enslaved under the tyrannical rule of Pharaoh in Egypt. The Pharaoh, fearing the growing population of the Israelites, decreed that every male child born to them should be killed. This was a dark and dangerous time, where the cries of mothers losing their newborns echoed through the land, and fear gripped the hearts of the people. It was into this bleak reality that Musa was born. His mother, driven by divine inspiration and immense faith, placed her infant son into a small, makeshift basket and set it adrift on the Nile River. This act of desperation was also one of profound trust in Allah's plan, for she believed that her child's fate was now in the hands of the Almighty. The basket floated gently down the river, guided by unseen hands, until it reached the very palace of Pharaoh. Here, by a twist of fate that only divine intervention could orchestrate, the infant Musa was discovered by the Pharaoh's wife, Asiya. Unlike her husband, Asiya was a woman of compassion and recognized something extraordinary in the child. She convinced Pharaoh to spare the baby's life, and thus, Musa was raised within the very household that sought to destroy him. Growing up in the palace, Musa was afforded all the luxuries and education of Egyptian royalty. However, his true identity as a member of the oppressed Israelites remained hidden. Despite his royal upbringing, Musa never lost his connection to his people, feeling deeply for their suffering. As Musa matured, so too did his awareness of the injustice surrounding him, and the seeds of his future role as a prophet were sown. This phase of Musa's life was not merely about survival, but about preparation. Each event, from his miraculous salvation on the river to his upbringing in the enemy's stronghold, was a part of the divine plan. Allah was shaping Musa, giving him the tools, knowledge, and experience he would need to fulfill his destiny. The years he spent in the Pharaoh's palace were not just years of physical growth, but of spiritual and intellectual development. Here, he learned the ways of the Egyptians, their customs, language, and strategies, all of which would later aid him in his mission to liberate his people. However, Musa's journey towards his prophetic mission was far from straightforward. It was filled with trials and tribulations designed to test and strengthen his resolve. The most significant of these trials began with an incident that forced Musa to flee Egypt and marked the beginning of a new chapter in his life, a chapter of exile, hardship, and eventual divine revelation. Musa's life took a dramatic turn when he reached adulthood. One day, while walking through the city, he came across a confrontation between an Egyptian and an Israelite. Musa, driven by his innate sense of justice and a deep-seated anger at the oppression of his people, intervened to help the Israelite. In the ensuing struggle, Musa struck the Egyptian, unintentionally killing him. This act, though done in defense of the oppressed, forced Musa to flee from Egypt to escape the Pharaoh's wrath. This marked the beginning of Musa's exile, a period of profound change and personal growth. Musa fled to the land of Midian, a place far removed from the luxuries of the Egyptian court. In Midian, Musa was no longer a prince but a fugitive and a stranger in a foreign land. He was without wealth, status, or allies, and his future seemed uncertain. However, it was in this exile that Musa's true character was forged. Stripped of his former life, he was left with nothing but his faith in Allah. This period of hardship was a test of patience, a quality that would be essential in his later mission. In Midian, Musa encountered the family of the prophet Shuaib, Jethro, who took him in. Musa displayed his noble character and strong work ethic by assisting Shuaib's daughters at the well, an act that led to his marriage to one of them. Musa spent the next several years in Midian, working as a shepherd. This humble occupation was a far cry from his previous life of luxury. but it was precisely what he needed. The solitude of the desert and the responsibility of caring for the flock provided Musa with the time and space to reflect, to grow spiritually, and to develop the patience and resilience that would later define his leadership. This period also symbolized a purification process, where Musa shed the remnants of his Egyptian upbringing and embraced his identity as a servant of Allah. It was during this time that Musa learned valuable lessons in humility, patience, and perseverance. The desert, with its harsh and unforgiving environment, became a place of spiritual retreat, where Musa connected deeply with his Creator. Every trial, every challenge he faced in Midian was a part of his preparation, a necessary step towards his ultimate mission. These years in exile were not just a punishment, but a blessing in disguise. A time for Musa to strengthen his faith and character. After years of exile, when the time was right, Allah called Musa to his prophetic mission. The once exiled prince, now a man of deep faith and unwavering patience, was ready to return to Egypt, not as a fugitive, but as a prophet of Allah, with a divine mission to confront Pharaoh and lead the Israelites to freedom. After years in exile, Prophet Musa, Moses, had settled into a life of peace and simplicity in Midian, far removed from the grandeur and turmoil of Egypt. He had taken a wife, started a family, and found contentment in the quiet life of a shepherd. Yet unbeknownst to him, a divine plan was unfolding that would catapult him back into the heart of the conflict he had fled from. This plan was set in motion on a fateful day when Musa, while tending to his flock in the wilderness, experienced a profound and life-altering encounter. One day, as Musa was leading his flock along the slopes of Mount Sinai, a sight unlike any other caught his attention. In the distance, he saw a bush engulfed in flames, but something was peculiar. The bush was not being consumed by the fire. Intrigued and drawn by this miraculous sight, Musa approached the burning bush. Little did he know that this seemingly ordinary event was, in fact, an extraordinary moment of divine revelation. As he neared the bush, a voice called out to him, "O Musa, verily, I am your Lord." The voice was none other than that of Allah, the Almighty, speaking to Musa directly. The ground on which Musa stood was declared sacred, and he was commanded to remove his sandals as a sign of reverence and humility before the divine presence. In this awe-inspiring moment, Allah revealed himself to Musa and entrusted him with a mission of immense significance: to return to Egypt and confront Pharaoh, the tyrannical ruler who had oppressed the children of Israel for generations. Musa was to demand the liberation of his people and lead them to freedom. The gravity of this divine command weighed heavily on Musa's heart. He was being asked to confront the most powerful ruler of his time, a man he had once fled in fear. Yet, despite the overwhelming nature of the task before him, Musa did not shrink from his duty. Instead, he turned to Allah in supplication, expressing his fears and asking for support. He prayed, "O my Lord, expand for me my chest, ease my task for me, and remove the impediment from my speech so they may understand my words." Allah, in his infinite wisdom and mercy, not only reassured Musa of his support, but also granted him two powerful signs to aid him in his mission. The first was the transformation of Musa's staff into a serpent, a miraculous sign of divine power meant to serve as a proof to Pharaoh of Musa's prophethood. The second sign was the ability of Musa's hand to become white and shining without any harm, another clear indication of divine intervention. However, even with these signs, Musa felt the need for additional support in his daunting task. He requested that his brother, Aaron, be appointed as his helper and spokesperson. Allah graciously accepted this request, appointing Harun as a prophet and granting him the ability to articulate the divine message with clarity and eloquence. Together, Musa and Harun were tasked with delivering Allah's message to Pharaoh and leading the children of Israel out of bondage. This encounter at the burning bush was not merely a call to action for Musa, it was a moment of profound spiritual awakening. It marked the beginning of his journey as a prophet and leader, a journey that would test his faith, patience, and resolve in ways he could never have imagined. Through this encounter, Allah reminded Musa and all believers that divine guidance and support are always available to those who place their trust in Him, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges. The return to Egypt was not an easy one for Prophet Musa. He had left the land years earlier as a fugitive, fleeing from the wrath of Pharaoh after inadvertently killing an Egyptian. The memories of that time were etched deeply in his mind, and the thought of confronting Pharaoh once more was daunting. Yet with the divine command clear and his faith fortified by his encounter with Allah, Musa, accompanied by his brother Harun, embarked on the perilous journey back to the land of his birth. Upon their arrival in Egypt, Musa and Harun sought an audience with Pharaoh. The court of Pharaoh was a place of immense power and opulence, filled with advisors, magicians, and soldiers, all loyal to the will of the king, who was regarded not just as a ruler, but as a god. To stand before Pharaoh and challenge his authority was an act of immense courage. But Musa was armed with the knowledge that he was on a mission ordained by the true God, Allah. When Musa and Harun finally stood before Pharaoh, they delivered the message with clarity and conviction. Indeed, we are messengers of your Lord. Send with us the children of Israel, and do not torment them. We have come to you with a sign from your Lord, and peace will be upon those who follow the guidance. Pharaoh, however, was not a man easily swayed. He was arrogant, dismissive, and enraged by the audacity of Musa's demands. He questioned Musa's authority, mocking him for having grown up in the palace and now daring to challenge the throne. But Musa, undeterred, demonstrated the signs given to him by Allah. He cast his staff to the ground, and it miraculously transformed into a serpent, a sight that startled everyone present. Then, he placed his hand under his arm, and when he withdrew it, it was shining white, another sign of his divine mission. Despite these miracles, Pharaoh remained defiant. He accused Musa of sorcery and summoned his own magicians to challenge him. A day was appointed for a public contest where Pharaoh's magicians would confront Musa before the people of Egypt. The magicians, confident in their abilities, cast their ropes and staffs, which appeared to turn into serpents through their trickery. But when Musa threw down his staff, it transformed into a great serpent that devoured the illusions of the magicians. The truth of Musa's divine mission was undeniable, and the magicians, recognizing the power of Allah, immediately submitted in faith, declaring, "We believe in the Lord of Musa and Harun." Pharaoh's fury knew no bounds. His own magicians had betrayed him by accepting Musa's message. In his wrath, Pharaoh threatened them with severe punishment, but the magicians stood firm in their newfound faith, ready to face whatever came their way. The struggle between Musa and Pharaoh was not merely a political battle. It was a profound test of patience and faith. Musa faced not only the wrath of Pharaoh, but also the skepticism and fear of his own people. The children of Israel, who had endured generations of oppression, were hesitant to believe that liberation was possible. They feared Pharaoh's retaliation and were reluctant to follow Musa's lead. Yet, Musa remained steadfast. He continued to call his people to trust in Allah, to have patience, and to believe in the promise of freedom. Despite the repeated refusals of Pharaoh and the increasing hardships placed upon the children of Israel, Musa's faith did not waver. He knew that Allah's promise was true and that deliverance would come in its time. The struggle with Pharaoh represents a pivotal chapter in the story of Musa, highlighting the qualities of patience, perseverance, and unwavering faith. It teaches that in the face of tyranny and oppression, believers must hold fast to their faith in Allah, trusting in His wisdom and timing. Musa's experience in confronting Pharaoh serves as a timeless reminder that no matter how powerful the forces of evil may appear, they cannot withstand the truth and justice of Allah. The climax of Musa's struggle with Pharaoh came when Allah commanded Musa to lead the Israelites out of Egypt. As they fled, Pharaoh and his army pursued them, trapping the Israelites between the Red Sea and the approaching forces. In this moment of crisis, the Israelites, overcome with fear, questioned Musa, doubting their escape. However, Musa, with unwavering faith in Allah's promise, reassured them and struck the sea with his staff. By Allah's command, the sea parted, creating a dry path for the Israelites to cross safely. When Pharaoh and his army attempted to follow, the waters returned, drowning them and securing the Israelites' freedom. This miraculous event is a profound reminder of Allah's power and the importance of patience and trust in His timing. Musa's faith in Allah's promise, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds, serves as an enduring lesson for all believers. One of the most intriguing episodes in Musa's life is his encounter with Al-Khidr, a mysterious figure endowed with divine knowledge. This story, recounted in Surah Al-Kahf, offers deep insights into the nature of knowledge and the limits of human understanding. Musa, despite being a prophet, was instructed by Allah to seek out Al-Khidr to learn from him. This humble pursuit of knowledge, even for a prophet, emphasizes the importance of continuous learning and the recognition that human knowledge is limited compared to Allah's infinite wisdom. During their journey, Musa witnessed Al-Khidr perform seemingly inexplicable actions, damaging a boat, killing a young boy, and repairing a wall in a town that refused them hospitality. Each time, Musa questioned Al-Khidr's actions, only to be told that he could not bear to understand their true purpose. At the end of their journey, Al-Khidr explained the wisdom behind his actions, revealing that they were carried out by Allah's command, each with a purpose that Musa could not initially comprehend. This story underscores the lesson that knowledge is not always apparent, and that true understanding comes from recognizing the limits of our perception and trusting in Allah's greater plan. The story of Prophet Musa is a profound narrative filled with lessons on patience, faith, and the pursuit of knowledge. Musa's life journey, from his miraculous survival as an infant to his leadership in guiding the Israelites to freedom, exemplifies the virtues of perseverance and reliance on Allah. Through his experiences, Musa teaches us that patience is not merely about waiting, but involves active trust in Allah's wisdom and timing. Moreover, his quest for knowledge reminds us of the importance of humility in learning and the recognition that true wisdom comes from Allah alone. In reflecting on the story of Prophet Musa, we are reminded of the power of faith in overcoming adversity, the necessity of patience in the face of trials, and the endless pursuit of knowledge as a means of drawing closer to the divine truth.